This one.
Whichever one you want.
Yeah, he said the third one. I don't know which one's the third one.
How about another guy who knows his way around this place? They call him the King, Richard Petty.
Yeah. That's the second one.
And we'll welcome also the president of the Daytona International Speedway, Mr. Frank Kelleher.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing? On behalf of the France family and the whole staff, welcome back to the World Center of Racing. Thanks for being here for Camper Fest. Frank's with Frank giving away some dogs. I think we were pouring some beer over there as well. I think we got all the kinks worked out of that. But it's so great to see everyone. Welcome back, and let's have a great Speed Weeks.
Yeah. Absolutely right. By show of hands, first time here at the Daytona International Speedway. Welcome everybody, welcome to Daytona. The Petty name and NASCAR, 75 years together. And when you think about that, it truly is amazing. We just celebrated our 75th anniversary of NASCAR a year ago, and now 75 years with the Petty name as part of this great sport. Kyle, we'll start with you. Petty, NASCAR, it's synonymous.
Yeah, you know, it's really amazing, especially at this speedway. My granddad won the first race here in '59. They raced over on the beach, and then they came here. He ran the first race. Obviously, he won 1 or 2 races here, 7 races here, seven 500s. I won an ARCA race here. Adam raced here. So if you go back through it, you know, and it's funny because we talked about it last year. The France family had a meeting at the Streamline, and they formed NASCAR in '48, and they started racing. And my granddad said, "Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it." And here we are in 2024, back at the speedway that the France family built, that Bill France built, and still doing it, still riding around in circles.
And he's a little bit modest, Kyle is, because he said he won here. His first ever professional stock car start came here at Daytona, and he put it right over there in Mobile One Victory Lane. That's impressive.
Yeah. It wasn't that impressive, don't. It really wasn't.
Richard, 75 years. It is amazing. When you guys first built a race car and drove it to a racetrack, put it on the back of a hitch and brought it to the racetrack, now all of a sudden we're in these multi-million-dollar rigs that are running up and down the highways. What comes to mind when you think about the Petty name and NASCAR for 75 years?
It's really hard to say. I know the first 2 or 3 races I went with my dad to the race in 1949. We drove the car to the racetrack, run the race, and then he drove it back home. So he had to be careful with the car so we could get back home. But, you know, the deal is that it started strictly stock, and over a period of time, they kept modifying things because we kept breaking things. Cars kept getting faster. They started building super speedways like this. And so it just changed so much. And now it's so technical. They won't even let me work on it no more. But the deal is, you know, it had to change. We couldn't be speed running stock cars out here today because they're not made for racing with them. So, you know, NASCAR has kept up with the times. As times change, then they change the rules, try to keep it competitive. And so far, they've done a pretty damn good job. So we're still in there with them.
Absolutely right. And Frank, it's Daytona, and the Petty name is synonymous with racing at Daytona. We gave some of the resume. Obviously, Lee Petty won the first Daytona 500 right here, 1959. Didn't really get a chance to fully celebrate because back in those days, there wasn't the TV cameras and the photo finish cameras. In the NASCAR Hall of Fame, the Squire Hall Award for Media Excellence, T. Taylor Warren had that photograph. If it wasn't for that photograph, and 3 or so days later, to have Lee Petty crowned as champion. Frank, what does it mean to you to be here, president of Daytona, and to sit here on this stage with icons, knowing that the history that this Petty name has with Daytona?
And I tell you, I'm trying to think of all of our guests out here, all of our fans, looking at, this is the king. I mean, this is Richard Francis Kyle Petty. I feel honored and blessed to have an opportunity to be up here. So that's what that means to me. growing up a fan of the sport, going to Pocono Raceway. I think we snuck in the garage once to get your autograph, but that's a long story. Now I'm worried about how to keep people out of the garage. So for me, a race fan at heart, this is just incredible. 7-time Daytona 500 winner, champion, 7-time NASCAR champion, but also I think known as the people's champion, right? The Petty family is known as, they're gonna go above and beyond for all of the race fans to make time to talk, and just those family values. So you all have done a great job of recapping the history, and I just think tonight is so special to be rolling out this program, paying honor and tribute to the entire Petty family, starting right here at the World Center of Racing. Is just super special, and I'm just grateful to be here.
Yeah, I think what the Petty family thinks about everything is that without the fans, there wouldn't be a Richard Petty, or Petty wouldn't be a Daytona. So the fans are where it all starts. We think about it, everybody thinks about, well, we got to get to Daytona, we got to do, get ready for the race and stuff. But without the fans, we wouldn't be having racing. I'd had to went to work for a living, so I wouldn't like that. I appreciate all your fans all these years. That's for sure.
Absolutely right. And in just a few short moments, we are going to make our way over to our left, your right out there, and unveil this tremendous work of art that will travel to every NASCAR track on the schedule this year. But it will be different at every NASCAR track that you go to this entire year. So we encourage you, get to as many races and see this work of art, because it truly is something spectacular we're about to unveil. And it is for you, the race fans. Why has it always been so important, King, to make sure you take care of the race fans?
I just said a while ago, without the fans, there wouldn't be any racing, okay? And there wouldn't be any Richard Petty, we wouldn't be sitting here today. So, the fans are the ones that pay the bills, okay? The general manager of the racetrack, he didn't pay me anything. If somebody didn't buy a ticket, he ain't got no money to pay me. So, that's the reason he works hard at getting people in here so that he can pay me.
Yeah, and then you got to go back to the very beginning. You got to go back to when they raced on the beach. You got to go back to when they first came here. It wasn't presented by. It didn't have a sponsor. There was not a sponsor for the Daytona 500. It was you guys that came and bought a ticket and sat in the grandstands, and part of that ticket was part of the purse. So, and I think the one thing that this man, and I will say it for him, that so many people fail to recognize about him is that he's a race fan, and I hope that comes across to you guys. He's a race fan, and if he didn't drive a race car, and if he didn't win 7 championships, and if he didn't win 7 Daytona 500s, he would be that guy that had been here since 1959, sitting in the 3rd row, watching people race just like you. So I will say that.
Petty and 75 years in NASCAR, and Kyle, you've literally grown up in this. You've had the opportunity and the freedom to do other things. You are a heck of a football player, had opportunities to sign a scholarship to play college football. You sit down and put pen to paper and write songs and put a guitar strap over your shoulder and do those types of things. What was always the draw to get you back to NASCAR?
So I didn't play football because I don't know if y'all watch the Super Bowl, but those guys get hit multiple times. When you drive a race car, you only got to take one hit and then you get to go home. You just go. You get an ambulance ride and then you get to go home. That's the way it is. That's your part. Yeah. You know what? And we were talking about it over there just a little bit later. We grew up in rural North Carolina, in a rural community where everybody was a farmer. They were chicken farmers and dairy farmers and tobacco farmers. And it was not uncommon for the farm down the road to be a 3rd generation farm, to be a 4th generation farm. We just happened to raise race cars on our farm. My grandfather started and farming race cars, and then my father came along and he did it, and I came along, and then Adam came along, and now, my nephew and my dad's another grandson, Thad Moffitt, is running the truck race Friday night, so he's come along. So we've been a part of this sport in some way, and it's just from family member to family member to family. And that's what we were talking over there before, is that NASCAR is a family. And I hope y'all feel like you're part of the family. I hope fans feel a part of the family. But you know, one of the questions they just ask us over there is, what does 75 years in racing mean to you? And I think 75 years for us means 75 years of family. 75 years of doing what we love to do, you guys coming and watching what we were able to do, and for it to be passed on from generation to generation. So, you know, I hope when we unveil this thing tonight and you guys see what it is and you take your photos and you post them. Make sure you post them, tag Daytona, tag Legacy Motor Club, tag all of us so that we know who the fans are that are watching this and coming out and visiting this, because we're really going to pay attention to it this year. But this was something that we felt like gave us an opportunity to say thank you to you guys, and for you guys to take a picture and let us know who you were.
Make sure you also tag it Petty 75.
Yeah, for sure.
As well. King, you mentioned family, and it's not just your dad. It wasn't just you. Kyle, Adam, Maurice Petty, the greatest engine builder for my money. Dale Inman, your cousin, 8-time championship-winning crew chief. It was also the rest of the family that has a hand in Petty and NASCAR.
Yeah, you know, everything started. My mother kept all the books and stuff. Then when my dad got hurt and we had to go back home, my wife Linda started taking care of all that stuff. And you know, we've always had cousins and brothers and sisters and everything. And half the people that work for us were cousins.
Yeah.
Okay. And because they all live locally and stuff. So it's not just the Petty family, it's the outside of the Petty family. And it took the whole community to make it work.
Yeah.
And so from that standpoint, it's always been not only just the Petty family, but all the extended family. And you know, now we're extending to all the fans, hoping that they enjoy the racing stuff just as much as we have all these years.
Yeah, family work cheap. That's what he's trying to say. So I'm gonna tell you a quick story. I'm gonna tell you a real quick story. I know we're on a time thing here. My grandmother kept the books and kept the business running. Without my grandmother Patty, there would be no Lee Petty Engineering, Petty Enterprises. There would be nothing. My grandfather went to New York in '58 or '59, right along in there. And he went up, flew out of Greensboro, flew to New York, stayed at a hotel called the Bristol, had dinner that night, had breakfast, lunch, and dinner the next day, spent another night at the Bristol, and flew home the next day. So he's basically up there for 2 days and 2 nights. Is basically why I had 4 or 5 meals. And he turned his receipts in with the airline ticket, brought the airline ticket back to my grandmother with all the receipts. And for 2 days and 2 nights in beautiful New York and all those meals, it was $89. And my grandmother made a notation on the receipts when she tallied it up and said, New York is too expensive, never go back again. That's how we survived. That's how we survived.
Frank, you're the president of Daytona International Speedway. It's only fitting we unveil this work of art here at your racetrack. What do you say we go down there with these fans and go do that right now?
Let's do it. Let's go check this out.
All right.